Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 24th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. Between them, they've covered Penn State for more than 75 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Anderly Penwell, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By QUATRINIRAFFERTY, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hi, and welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are the NitWits, of course. I'm Anderly Penwell. I'm joined by Mark Brennan, Neil Rudell, and our guest today, Roger Crow with PC Radio Network. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Raj.
Wonderful. So the 28-0 win yesterday. Let's just get right into it. Quite an interesting senior day.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been critical of the coaching staff, especially offensively at times this year, but I really thought that was just a tremendously coached game for Penn State, given everything that they were up against. You know, you lose 4 games out of 5, the team's hit by the flu, you have to change all of these things on the fly. And, you know, I've been critical of James Franklin for not being the greatest coach at adjusting on the fly. And guess what? This week, they did it. Now, this wasn't a great opponent in Rutgers, but so what? That team was coming off a blowout win at Indiana. To win this kind of game on senior day, great for the seniors. Thought the coaching staff did a really good job, and it's a good sign going into the end of the season.
Yeah, you know, I thought that it was unfortunate. Obviously, Clifford was sick, and he's certainly still not 100% healthy. But in some ways, it should benefit the bigger picture of the program because you found out what Veyu could do, and he's your new number 2 quarterback, so that emerged in the last couple weeks. And, you know, going forward, whether it's this week at Michigan State, if he's needed, or next year when presumably Clifford will be moving on and you have some new freshmen coming in, here you have a guy who has played well in a game, and I thought that was a big step for them.
I enjoyed watching Christian play and getting his first taste of one-on-one, as it were. The Canada connection is going to be something very special. I don't know if many people really take it to heart like I do, but I think we have a pretty good idea of the possibilities for Penn State in the future.
Yeah, the other thing I liked is that you know, the offensive line has obviously struggled all year. And in this game, they were forced to play some guys, including true freshman Landon Tangwell, who never played before. And again, not a great opponent, but listen, the offensive line was struggling against not great opponents for most of the season. For those kids to come in and step up and do the job they did, protecting Veyu, opening up holes for the ground game, you know, I thought that spoke well, going to what you're saying, Neil. Now all of a sudden, maybe if somebody's struggling, you're not as reluctant to maybe go to the second teamer. And with regard to Veyu, listen, you know, they had to play Clifford. They felt they had to play Clifford against Illinois. And he clearly wasn't as effective as Clifford could be. Now, if he gets bumped up or sick or whatever, maybe they are more willing to give the backup a try, and because they know that he's able to get stuff done.
Yeah, there was some talk after the game that why didn't they have Veyu ready for Iowa? Why wasn't he the backup then? But, I actually bought the James's rationale on that. It's early in the season. Roberson had been with you 3 years. To put Veyu in that situation on the road, I think that was the percentage. Now, hey, they found out, what Roberson could or couldn't do at that point, and now they've ascended Veyu, and he looks like he played very poised.
Yeah, I would wonder why they didn't play him against Illinois if Clifford wasn't 100%. That would be the one thing that I would come back with. But I would say that for Veyu's progress, this worked out better for him, because if he does go into Iowa, who knows what's going to happen in that game. But here, now he still has his red shirt available, because this was the first game he played. You can play in up to 4 games and still red shirt. So he has that available, and he was able to come in a friendly environment against a not so great opponent and do really well.
I enjoy the fact that his teammates responded to him so well.
Yes.
It was so instantaneous. It's like, well, Sean, we're going with Christian. I get it. In he comes, and off we go. I mean, it was just a great experience, I think, for the whole team. They all came together around Christian in just a few short plays.
Dodson's been so good, but it was nice to see. Parker Washington's really been one of the underrated players on the team this year. Turned in a real big game because, Penn State Rutgers was hanging around. Rutgers kind of had the kind of style game that, it was a punt fest. And, I think that Stout can't be overestimated what he has meant to the team. 8 punts, and he put, I think, 4 inside the 10 and 6 inside the 20. He was a big difference in the game.
Yeah, and we've got to this point of the show without even mentioning the defense, which kind of tells you what this defense has been all about. It's been this good in just about every game this year, comparatively speaking. They gave up more points against Ohio State, but Ohio State's much better. But the job this defense did, it gave the offense time to come around. So the teams opened with 6 punts each, and Penn State never panicked. And why didn't they panic? Because they knew that defense was playing well. And then when Veyu goes in, they were able to run plays that worked well for him, that you knew that he worked on in practice, and not kind of go crazy, because you had the comfort zone of that defense and of Stout being great as a punter.
Yeah, so 28-0, obviously the second shutout of the season, first was against Indiana. Second time ever in program history they've shut out 2 Big Ten opponents. What do you think the tangible takeaways from the defense were yesterday?
Tangible and Tangelo. I found out
I like that.
His dad's name's Angelo.
Angelo
Tangelo.
Well, he's playing tremendous football. But I just think it goes to show that in the Big Ten, if you have a good defense, which Penn State has right now, they're leading the Big Ten in scoring defense, you are going to be in every single game. Because no matter what happens with the offense, your defense, that defense has kept them in every single game. And arguably, if the offense just played a little bit better, you'd be looking at a much different season. Brett Pry's done a great job this year.
And coming up after a quick break, we'll dive more into Veyu's debut and Dotson's performance. You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Well, welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. So before the break, we were talking about Christian Veyu's pretty good debut. And of course, Dotson, he went over 1,000 yards on the season, now is 3rd all-time in receptions, touchdown receptions at Penn State. A little sick yesterday amongst all of the other guys who were, but overall, what did you think of his performance?
Well, hey, he's the leader.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know, we haven't gotten Clifford the last couple weeks because of injuries and illness as far as spokesman for the offense, and Dodson ably handles that stuff well, and it is important, you know, to show leadership in good times and bad. It's you know, tremendous media following that, and the fans want to know. So I thought he didn't have his best game. He made a couple good catches. Made a great route on the touchdown early.
Yeah, Dodson actually said that that's a play that he worked on frequently when Vayu was in practice. And the second teamer doesn't always get a ton of snaps. So that's what I mean by they were going with things they knew worked for Vayu. Vayu actually checked into that play. So it's pretty cool when you have a young quarterback who has that, you know, mental thing going on with a veteran receiver. And you have to imagine for Vayu, knowing that you have Dotson there makes you that much more comfortable when you're running these plays.
In postgame, Jahan was just so appreciative of, as he always is, of his whole team. But he did point out Vayu's command of that particular day, not just the command of a couple of plays and, you know, their scores, their passes. He was just so appreciative of Christian's efforts overall. He was glad he could step up.
Yeah, well, remember, Dotson had to play as a true freshman. They weren't sure if they were going to redshirt him. He played in one game, and then he came in a game against Iowa and made a couple of really big plays. So he understands what it's like to be a true freshman getting in there. And you could imagine in the huddle and stuff, I'm sure there was, you know, talk back and forth and being supportive.
Because of the illness, they were apparently ready to go to Mason Stahl if they had to, seriously, as a starter. And I thought it was cool that he got in there late and made a nice run and at least got his feet wet.
And Tank Smith, you cannot go with this whole show without mentioning the great Tank Smith. That guy's been a great glue guy, a walk-on in the Penn State running backs room, and it was good to see him get some action.
And if your name is Tank Smith, you like have to be a running back, right? You mean you're just set up for that. But coming up after our break, more about James Franklin's future, some concerns, and what it'll look like. This and more after break.
The NitWits are being brought to you by RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Well, welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Yesterday's win, by all accounts, pretty resounding, solid win. Anything else that stood out to you guys that you'd like to give any shout-outs to?
Yeah, a couple people. I mean, I thought Arnold Ebiketie continued to make himself a lot of money. He has another year of eligibility, but I don't think he's going to use it. That guy is playing extremely well, had another big game. And another guy that I liked, Jonathan Sutherland, a safety, had to start at linebacker in place of Curtis Jacobs, did a really nice job. Team captain, guy has really sacrificed for this team. And for him to come through with an interception late in that game, I thought was kind of a fitting end. Another Canadian kid, and one quick thing, we can't go, again, this whole show without acknowledging Penn State's Canadian pipeline, because you have Vayu, you have Mega, you have Luketa, you have Sutherland, you have Theo Johnson. They have done a nice job. You know, the country that brought us Pete Giftopoulos and the Yeboah Cody's is now being well represented again.
Well, I thought it was cool, too, that Vayu had the Canadian logo on his helmet.
Yeah, they all have them on the back.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, I thought Penn State did a really nice touch recognizing John Black, who has written the football letter since the mid-'70s. There's been two people that have written the football letter since its inception in like '38, Ridge Riley and John Black. I mean, it's made the coaches seem like a revolving door, and they honored him. John was honored in the lobby of the press box, and John's the only one up there that can say that they covered the '59 Liberty Bowl against Alabama and the Bear, which Penn State won. So shout out to John. He's always been a great member of
well, and a shout out to John's wife too, because she likes watching the show. So Mrs. Black, we enjoy having you watch the show, and your husband did a fantastic job with the football letter. Great State College family, great people.
What else stuck out to you, Roger?
Just looking forward to next week already. Have been around long enough. The game is done. I'm looking forward already. But the way everything came together, you know, with the pregame, with the military appreciation, the 31 seniors, you know, who may come back again. They liked it so much. The whole day was so good for Penn State. I was happy for Christian Veilleux. I was happy for James Franklin. I was especially happy for the Penn State medical team for all of the IVs they were passing out over the latter half of the week. They just did great work to get the kids at least in a position to play.
Yeah, vertical at this point. And you mentioned James Franklin, of course, famously 1-0 is his mentality, and it's been all year. Conversation about his future is, again, up in question.
Well, James made the most definitive statement about the speculation that he's made all year. And he told the quarterback club on Wednesday that, you know, he knows they're hearing different things, and he said, I'm not going anywhere. And that was, you know, the kind of word that I think a lot of people, they responded with a rousing ovation. So I think it was some assurance. He was asked about it afterwards, and he said he was going to have more to say this week. So it looks like there's something in the works that he wants to stay, and that Penn State is working toward. Even though he's under contract for 4 more years, it has been a topic.
Yeah, well, those contracts, I mean, you just look at what happens around the college football world, and who knows what they're really, how much they're written in stone. You know, I think the fact that they have this really good recruiting class, not quite ranked #1 yet, and you've seen no movement within that whatsoever. So the recruits have not been telling reporters what James Franklin's telling them, because I don't think he wants them to. But I think the fact that that recruiting class has stayed really, really strong and really tight so far, you know, knock on wood if you're a Penn State fan, I think that was kind of sending us a message. And I think ultimately the people in the Penn State Athletic Administration are intelligent enough to realize that to have a program to compete at the highest level, you do need certain things. And whatever you think about James Franklin, he has done a great job of improving their facilities, of resetting the foundation that Joe Paterno set so well way back when. But he's reset it, he's working to reset it to compete at a different level. Now he's got to start winning more consistently than we've seen the last couple years.
And I think one of the reasons this has been in play through the season, there's some really high profile jobs that are open, have been open, USC, LSU, and now Florida became open today.
Yeah, but the feeling everybody's getting at this point that I know is that he's not going anywhere. I think he'll put it to a definitive end sometime in the next week or so, you know, hopefully at the press conference this week. Well, I don't really care because it makes for good conversation on our message boards in here. But I think Penn State fans would like to see it just, you know, addressed once and for all at some point.
I think Coach wants to raise the bar internally. He wants the facilities better, and he wants more people involved in his program, and he wants them all to get better too. I think that's part of his long-term plan.
And let's be real too, at the height of the Paterno era, through the 80s and the 70s and the 80s and into the 90s, when they were competing largely against the Eastern teams, they had the best facilities.
Yeah. Right, and that slipped late. And I mean, unfortunately, and people may not want to hear it, that part of it slipped later in Joe's career, where they were not. I mean, it goes back to with the STEP program and the seat licensing and everything else. Penn State was really late to the party with that. And by the time it got there, other teams had made more significant strides. So, you know, I think that people getting frustrated with James Franklin, he's fighting he wants to take care of himself, he wants to take care of his staff, but he also wants the best facilities that they could possibly have, and I've never had any issue with that.
What did you mean about the internal bar being raised?
He wants
the radio booth.
The radio booth. Well, you know, I'm working with a Hall of
More
Famer,
food
so
in the press
you know,
box too.
Working with Jack and Steve has been a real blessing. But I think as far as how they interact with each other, how they interact with the players, how they interact with the community, they want the players to have the best possible college experience, the best Penn State experience, the best football. They want the best for their players, which trickles down to a better performance on the field, which makes the fans happier, and everything just goes up and up and up. The bar raises internally to make yourself better so you can make others better too.
Fair enough. And anything else about Franklin's tenure that you think is notable in this whole conversation has been going on, like as we've talked about it, was it every single Nitwits? It seems like we somehow go back to.
I think it's a little unfortunate it's taking place during the season.
Yes.
Some of it's a necessity. I mean, they got a big game here this week. They could really end the regular season on a high note and roll into a better bowl game than they could otherwise if they don't win the game. So, but I think it's part and parcel to the era we're in college sports. So, but that is one concern.
And did we maybe see the other side of that at Michigan State, where all of a sudden there were a bunch of rumors last week and a bunch of reports last week about what's going to happen, and then Sparty goes out and lays a big egg in their biggest game of the year. So, but Neil, you're right. And this is part of the way college football works. I know it's not easy for fans, but it's a big business now, and that's the way it is, and you have to just get used to it and live with it.
Yeah.
All right, and coming up after a break, we'll go over our Nitwit of the week. Stay tuned.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by NovaCare, Altoona and State College. We proudly support Penn State football. By QUATRINIRAFFERTY, attorneys at law. Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Well, here is a look at the standings. I was able to eke out a win last week. Very proud of myself there. So I'm 4.5 ahead.
You've closed this out.
Beginner's luck is truly what it is, I think.
It all goes back to that one tie.
The one time, yeah.
But listen, you did a great job, Anderly, and congratulations.
Yeah.
I think you are the Nitwit of the Year.
You don't
Rookie of the Year, Nitwit of the Year.
You don't even have to come in the next few weeks. You don't have to make a pick.
But
playing for second place.
But for next week's pick, Mark is right. After the little Auburn thing where we both picked the same one, and then they thought I was doing math on the fly, which I can't.
Yeah.
I've just decided to win, so I get to pick first, and they have to do the math around me. So I think when Penn State goes on the road, it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be 27-20. I think Penn State will eke one out, only because Michigan State, I mean, they were murdered. That was to Ohio State, and I don't know how you come back from that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go next. Listen, Michigan State really dealing with a lot of injury issues as we tape this. It's unclear if the running back Walker is going to, if he plays, what he's going to be able to do. When you're playing for the Land Grant Trophy, you can pretty much throw the records out the window. But for me, this Penn State team beat Rutgers, beat Maryland, but it has to show me now that it's capable, especially the offense, of getting it done in a game against a top 25 opponent. So I'm going to go Penn State 23, Michigan State 27. A little reverse psychology on you there, Neil.
Whiplash.
Yeah.
I picked 8 and 4 at the beginning of the year, and I look at the big common opponent. Penn State played Ohio State, and Michigan State played them both out there. Penn State gave them a lot stronger game. I think this Penn State team has character and good leadership. We'll see if Clifford can come back. If not, they got a young kid in the wings. I'm going to go ahead and say Penn State 27, Michigan State 24.
Wow.
Flip-flopping on my pick. I like that.
Well, yeah.
Roger, what about you?
Over the years, Michigan State, my gosh, I just think of guys like Ron Riggins when he was with
Yeah.
us. Boy, old Sparty was his own self. You never know who you're going to get when you play Michigan State. They're like Jekyll and Hyde. After the spanking they took last week, though, I think you'll find, and they're looking at 3 different Penn State quarterbacks that they don't know who Coach Franklin could pop in just on a whim. I think Penn State's going to leave East Lansing with a really nice 38-35 victory.
You're picking, so you and me are going to fight for
I like it. Good job, Roger. And at least I got us off the deflated ball for this week. So we know one thing, that the deflated ball will not win this week.
Right. So we got a shootout going, Roger. We'll see that.
All right, brother.
Yeah. Hey, I want to real quick. Steve Smith passed away yesterday morning. One of the all-time great Penn State players, and lost Raider, played with Millen with the Raiders and battled ALS for 15 plus years, and an inspiration to all. Great player on the 86 championship team with Tim Manoa, to bookend fullbacks. Fullbacks.
Yeah, Neil's always been a big fullback fan, and that was one of the great fullback tandems. Smith, we're going to miss him.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By QUATRINIRAFFERTY, attorneys at law, Michael Rooch, peace of mind after an injury or illness. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.